Hey gang, yes, we're out in the shop. We're going to talk about power probe for just a minute before we tear into the Cub Cadet. About 2005, power probe, 2004 or 2005, power probe came out with a pretty innovative electrical testing tool, good for 6 to 24 volts. It was quite simply just an elaborate light tester, like a standard light tester. It's got the grounding clamp, then you have a lead that you screw into the end of it. Let me grab that out of there, right there. You screw that into the end of it. Had a couple of LED lights to light your way, and you would connect the other leads to your battery or to your cigarette lighter, and it would enable you to test circuits, find shorts along the way in wires, so on and so forth. It also allowed you to, using this rocker switch, put power to a wire or put ground to a wire just by clicking back and forth, turn the audible alarm on and off. This light would turn red if you were on a hot, green if you were on a cold or a negative, and it had circuit overload protection right here. Fantastic tool. Excuse me, 12 to 24 volt is this one. Just an absolutely wonderful tool. Used the tar out of this thing. Well, then they stepped up their game, of course, like any other company does. You wind up with a Power Probe 2 and then the Power Probe 3. Well, me not being the type to spend a whole bunch of money, as usual, Power Probe 3 came available in my local pawn shop, so I grabbed it, and I've had it for a while now. It's the Power Probe 3, but you can see this one has an LCD screen on it. It actually gives you actual voltage and gives you faults, and still has a circuit overload protection. It's got an easier to use probe. It's in here somewhere. There it is. And it's also an insulated probe. And that one just slides in. Of course, take the tip off, and there's your contact point. Still has your ground wire on there, so you can test from one end to the other. Still has a cigarette lighter adapter and the other adapter. But the switch is replaceable now in case the rocker switch ever went bad on you. You could just pop it out, replace it with a new one, and it had some accessories to it. You can still turn the beeper on and off. But we're going to use this one. The other one works in pretty much the same fashion. This one just gives you a little bit more versatility because it actually gives you your voltages, lets you know if you have a voltage drop, so on and so forth. So we're going to try and troubleshoot the Cub Cadet. Give me just a minute, we'll get things set up and we'll get rocking and rolling on it. Before we get into that, I just want to give you guys a little sample. In here you can activate electrical components with a ground. You can check for bad ground contacts, following and locating short circuits, red-green polarity indicator and audio tones, as well as many other things like handheld testing. You can test a light bulb in your hand, like so, if you just wanted to make sure a light bulb was good before you put it in a vehicle, so on and so forth. Also gives you indications here of no continuity, less than 2 ohms but greater than less than 20 ohms but greater than 2 ohms, continuity less than 2 ohms. So it gives you a flashing indicator on this one, as opposed to just a red or green LED. You have a minus here and a plus here. Let's get over there. Alright, this mower has a 12 volt accessory on it. How cool is that? So I'm utilizing that and moving the microphone, sorry. This battery's down to 35%, so hopefully we can get through this. What we're going after is right here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the tape between the relay and the fuse so that we can get to it a little easier. And we'll tape it back up when we're done. I know I'm bumping your guys' head. Sorry about that. Okay. Do not believe we have a problem with the relay, but I do know that we have a problem with the fusible link, which is your ignition and run So what we're going to do, just straight out of the box, I've already got my power probe plugged in. And I'll show you here. I can hit down to put negative power or push up to get positive power. And like I say, it'll also tell me if I have good continuity or if I have weak continuity or something to that effect. So with the key off, we're going to touch, and we have, that's positive sound. So we have positive running through the whole thing. What I wind up with is this fuse gets really, really hot. I'm going to pull the fuse out and show it to you. And we're going to be troubleshooting together. I don't know what's wrong. So we're going to walk through this together until we can find out what exactly is going on. But I don't know if you can see that, but see how that is kind of bubbled up? Alright. So one of those wires, you can see it's just one wire. This side's not getting hot, this side is. So we have to determine which of these two wires it is. My guess is it's the one that is not always hot. So with the fuse out, we can check that just simply by getting down into the blades and probing. Hot? Nothing. Okay? Nothing at all. So that is the red wire with a white stripe. That's the one that we're going to try to trace down and track down, find out where it goes and what it does. And I see a red and white wire down here. Whether it's the same one or not, I don't know. So let me move the camera. We'll get the camera in a different spot. That worked out pretty good. Okay, I have a red and white wire right here. But is it the same red and white wire as what is in the top? Don't know. That's what we're going to find out. I'm going to take that clip apart and I'm going to use the, sorry, hang on, here we go. I'm going to use the continuity lead right here on one end and then the probe on the other and see what we've got in the way of continuity. So let me just pinch and pull this plug apart. There we go. Alright, my red and white wire is right here. I don't know how well that's showing up. Let's see if we can't move the light just a little bit. Okay, my red and white wire is right there. That light's a little bit too intense for us right there, isn't it? Well, that's not helping. Come on. That's a little better. Not as harsh. We're going to test this wire right here, this lead, going back to the fused lead and make sure that we've got continuity going between the two. So I think I'm going to do this a different way. Hang on, guys. We got a spade here. I'll see if I can't tuck it into this plug. I have a, let me show you. I just have a spade that's like half of a fuse. I'm just going to plug into the red and white side of that fused link so that I can get the ground connected to it. You can't see what I'm doing, but I'm taking this and putting it up where the fuse goes. After I've got that connected, that will allow me to come down here and make sure that we have continuity. Alright, so our red and white wire is right here. So we're going to check right here. There we go, with 0 resistance. So then the next one that I want to check is the hot wire coming in, and make sure that it is okay and that it doesn't have any kind of load resistance on it. And that 0, that you saw there, that's ohms of resistance. So it's a nice thing about this is that it will give you your ohms of resistance. So now we need to chase that wire down. In order to chase that wire down, I'm going to go ahead and shut you guys off. I'm going to chase it so you don't have to sit here and follow me chasing it. When I find it, and it should just be in the key switch. I suppose we could look ourselves here together real quick, right? Let's do that. Let me get another flashlight from over here. I'll come over on this side so I can see a little better. Let's look. I see down at the bottom of that switch a red and white. Right oh, come on. Right there. It's kind of wrapped around the red wire, but I've got my finger on it right there. See it? So that's what I'm going to test next. I'm going to check that wire just by pulling this plug out. I'm going to check that wire going to the fused length, which should just be a short length of wire, because we already checked the red with white stripe off of there connected and coming down to here, and it tested okay with 0 resistance, so it doesn't appear as though it is grounded out anywhere. And we're going to do the same thing up here. We're going to check on the plug. So 1, let me change batteries, and 2, let me get that unplugged so that we can test it. So hang on. So what does the power probe actually replace in the practical sense? Well, it can replace a meter on the DC side, because it's going to give you the ohms of resistance. So it can replace a big bulky meter, replace just a generic test light, homemade test light, or a purpose purchased test light, and many other things. Let me get that plug out and we'll see what's going on there. It might just be in our key switch, so hang on. Alright, now we've got both of them just pretty much side by side here. And to make sure that we've got the right wire, and we've got the red and white down here, right there. And we're going to go red and white here. If we turn the plug around and look at the back, we can see our red and white wire is right there, which would be this terminal right here. So we're just going to touch it. See if we have any resistance on that at all. Ready? We have 0 ohms of resistance. That is telling me that the wiring is okay. So what does that leave us? That leaves us with the ignition switch as being suspect. So what are we going to do about it? Well, it just so happens that I have an identical switch that's working properly. So what we're going to do is we're going to borrow it, connect it, and see if that fuse heats up. If it does, then we're going to keep digging, tell us that something else is amiss, and we'll try to find it as best we can. But like I said, we'll do it together. So hang on, let me grab that other switch, and we'll just connect it right here, and I'll set the tractor back down on the ground. We'll give it a start. Hang on. Go. That's a handy thing to have right there. There's a nut driver that you can put a ratchet on the end of. I don't know if the Craftsman's turning over on its grave because it was connected to a snap-on or vice versa. But they made such a cute couple. Alright, let's check the battery again. We're going to check our connection by clamping onto just the cable. English, okay, that's good. So 420, whoops, English is what we want. In vehicle, I'm going to call it before charge, regular flooded. Cold cranking amps was 420. Let's back it down to 420. If you just hold the button, it'll round robin. 420, we'll hit OK and it'll test. And then it'll tell us what our state of health and state of charge is. Our state of health is 27%, state of charge 33%, and it has been sitting for a long time just doing nothing. So we're going to crank it back over again, start it back up. I'm going to let it sit out and run for a little bit, and I want to see if that fuse heats, if those lines heat back up again. So give me just a few minutes to run this thing for a little bit, and we'll see if we've remedied the problem simply by getting the battery acid off the terminal. Okay gang, I discovered something. Let me put positive or ground to the battery here, okay? Get it up there. Now I pulled the fuse out. We have a brand new battery in, by the way, just so you know. I'm going to come down here, key switch is off. We have battery voltage. I'm going to come up here to the next terminal where the fuse goes, and I have nothing at all, as it should be, because I should, when I start this, throw positive power through this side to complete the circuit, right? That just is like in line. It's like if I just hardwired that together. So the fuse is out. Now I'm going to turn the key to the first position. Doesn't really matter which position I turn it to. We're going to check again our power side. We are hot, or we're hot. Now we're going to come over and we're going to check what it's supposed to feed. We have negative. We have to trace down why we've got negative or minus power going to that one. Shouldn't have. Not in a fused link. It should stay dead until power is put to it. So if I were to power this by hitting the rocker and touch this, then wherever it's supposed to be going to is giving me ground feedback. That's what's heating my wires up and blowing my fuses. So that red with white stripe somewhere along the line, and there's a wire loom back behind the battery. This wire actually goes south. It doesn't go up to the key switch. It ends up at the key switch. It meets up with it somewhere. So I've got some splices here and there. So that's what we need to determine, is where we've got a ground fault. And looking at all the wiring and where wires are coming from and going to, if I come down to the pigtail going into the engine, see if we can get the camera down there a little bit, get a little bit of light on it. Okay, if we get down here, and we're still kind of in the shadows, let's try it again. I like these lights, but boy, they're bright. Alright, now this is the wire right here that I checked before. That's the red with white. You can see right there, that's the red with white, and we tested that and it showed continuity between the fused wire and here. Well, we also have a red and white going to the ignition switch, and we checked those as well, but those wires head south. From here, they head south and somehow make their way back up to the key switch. So somewhere along the line, that is our problem wire, and that was all determined by using the power probe. So the next step in the game is to find out why I've got, and where it comes on, where I've got positive power coming in when I hit the key switch on. Because right now, with the key switch off, I have absolutely nothing. It's dead. No positive, no negative. I shouldn't be getting negative as soon as I hit the key on to a fused wire. That just tells me something's amiss. Something is grounding out where it should not, but through the key switch. If that makes sense? Through the key switch. So that's what our next task is going to be, and that's what we're going to check and try to decipher on part 2 of the Cub Cadet GT1554 1500 series with the Kohler 27 horse Courage vertical twin. Thanks you guys for hanging out with me. Yes, I'm out in the shop on Monday, 4 days post procedure. Not doing awesome. That's why I'm just doing a nice light wiring duty job here, and I'm stopping now while I'm ahead of the game. I'm starting to get pretty sore. Thank everybody for all the well wishes on Facebook and on YouTube and through emails. Every one of the well wishes is greatly appreciated, and we'll see you guys on part 2, which hopefully will be tomorrow. And something else that we've got to do is get this engine to where it's mounted down nice and tight. And also, our problem is right there in that valve cover gasket. It's a twin cam single cylinder, one cam for the exhaust valve, one cam for the intake valve. Is that over engineering? Nah. But anyway, what we thought was a head gasket on this is not, and how we know that that is not the case is simply by looking at the muffler, which I believe is over here. If we had a blown head gasket where the muffler outlet is, it would just be as black as, it'd be jet black, just full of soot. There is zero soot in there. So, no blown head gasket. Real easy to determine that. So, that's it for part 1. We will get to part 2 very soon. It's your friendly neighborhood Zippo. I'm trying to get back out in the shop for you guys. We'll see you on part 2. Later. I'm out.